Hello and welcome to Note to File, a clinical research podcast.
A collection of interviews, candid commentary, and general nonsense for the clinical research community.
Check us out at notetofilepodcast.com.
And now, without further ado, on to the show.
All right, guys, welcome to another Note to File. How's it going?
Sticky notes.
Sticky notes. I mean, it's either that or an interview. So,
Hey, man. I still get excited about it. I can't help it.
All right. No, hey, I wouldn't want to, rain on your parade. Apologies. Today's Tuesday, July 14th. Anything new?
I mean, a lot of things are new. I don't know.
Yeah, no shit. I mean, is there anything new with you that you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I'm still in a transient spot. I'm still looking for podcast location.
You're a transient. You are essentially a transient.
I'm actually unhoused is what we call it now.
Well, there are worse things.
No, I'm officially housed. That's the challenge. It's been good though.
Okay.
What about you? Anything new in your world?
Step closer. Nah. Boring. I'm boring.
How's Life? How's the summer shaping up for Site Life?
Pretty good, actually. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. We're building out a lot of cardio this summer, I feel like. I've seen a lot of cardiology opportunities come through, which is really nice. Again, I'm generally not shy to complain about problems I have, which are trying to work with, some of these outside imaging or colonoscopy, endoscopy suites. There's a orthopedic space or an orthopedic group you work with, and trying to work with their procedure space that's partly owned by them, but partly owned by a system. It's ridiculous. Yeah, somewhere in Oklahoma, I need to look it up. In Oklahoma City, there's like a very well-known surgery center that's like very, like, they're nationally known because they're very public about how, like, you need to come here and just pay cash rates because everything is cheap. We don't need to be involved.
Interesting.
Insurance, all that stuff's bad. I need to find them and partner with those dudes because it seems like they would be down for doing things without necessarily some of the ridiculous bureaucracy that gets involved in this, which is, again, I think something people overlook.
Yeah, it seems like their whole MO, if they're like, don't do insurance, just pay us cash. It's cheaper for us to do it this way.
Well, and it's like, I'm going to
very Oklahoma of them.
I'm going to pay you. Yeah, for better and worse. Sometimes it's sort of a, independent Oklahoma type of thing.
Libertarian vibes going.
Yes, that's exactly that's the word I was looking for. So yeah, that's double-edged sword at times, but yeah, I mean, that's been the big part of my summer, at least professionally right now, is trying to get some of these things figured out and working with actually a great, like, independent cardiology group. They have vascular surgery, electrophysiology, interventional radiology. They have their own ASC on site, so you can do all the procedures there. Not every procedure, obviously, some of those do require, hospitals, but a great deal of things can be done there and very quickly without hardly any red tape. I mean, the physicians we work with own the place. So you need a surgery spot, you can get in. You're not having to go through, you're going to wait 3 months, which is a problem even in the system where we're partnered. We need imaging. Well, you're in a screening window. Your screening window is 3 weeks. Well, cool. We can see them in 5 weeks. Well, okay. Why are we even doing this study? We can't see the patient. So you're, again, not even their fault. It's just, unfortunately, how these things often go.
I was going to say, like, I feel like as a patient that, like, I go to our university, like UW, Wisconsin, UW Hospital Health, and, like, it's a great facility. They do a ton of research. I mean, like, they, forward think the institution. And it's the same thing now where it's like, I'm scheduling something and they're like, oh, great. The doctor orders it. They're like, yeah, you should get in probably about 4 weeks is when you want to do this. And they're like, okay, well, we have something in December for you. And you're like, well,
yeah.
What? Like, this does not align.
Yeah.
So
yeah, No, it's tough. I mean, I feel like that is a challenge, whether you're in a system or not. It seems like one would have like potentially advantages over the other, but it almost just still seems like a crapshoot. So, anyways, that's been a lot of my summer, and hiring up staff.
Yeah, hiring, man. I used to really like it, honestly, and I don't mind it. I feel like I wouldn't mind it if I had more time, but I feel like it becomes, especially with the job market right now, where it's really competitive. So you get a ton of applicants, and there's just like this. I am one that I very much like to just like screen all of them. It's not like feeding shit through AI and be like, filter these people. No. I was like, I'm gonna do the diligence. Like they took the time to apply. I'm gonna give them the respect to review the applications, but it's so much. And then there's so many people, maybe because the market is so rough, that people are applying to things well beyond the scope of what they do.
Dude, I put out, so I will say this, I posted a job last Wednesday.
Okay.
That
it's Tuesday.
It's like a week ago. Yes, so less than a week ago. And we had 2 interviews come in that Friday, so 2 days later. And I hired someone on Friday, and they start tomorrow.
I mean, it's insane.
It's 1 week. But I don't have to deal with, all the silliness. Now, there's pros and cons to that. I might have a lower success rate because I take less time, but I can also have some more freedom to cut quickly if I need to. And look, I'll be honest, like my process is very vibe based when it comes to, I need a phlebotomist in this case. And Oklahoma City is also not like crawling with research professionals. I mean, there are some good, experienced clinical research folks, but I put these out, and I get 10 resumes from people who live in New Jersey that all look exactly the same. So I don't know if there's like bots out there also. So like I get weird.
But like, what benefit does that have? Like, dude, like who is that helping?
Maybe they all want to move from New Jersey to Oklahoma for some reason, even though I very seriously doubt it.
I mean, I think it's been insane though in that capacity where like Vivas work anywhere, so they can be, geographically ish, right? Like I'm not going to hire someone who's in, APAC to work in North America, right? But like generally fairly flexible, which is great because then you have access to all types of individuals. Whereas like 10 years ago when I was working hiring at a company that was local Madison, it was local talent, and the pool was much different. But I was talking to our head of engineering who was hiring, and like within like, I mean, tens of thousands of applications that they're getting for like single positions coming in. So it's great because you get really potentially like varied and like good talent that could be anywhere. But there's just so much of it, and like hiring for a sales role. And again, I was very fascinated, almost actually had an interview because I was like, I want to meet someone who has the balls to do this. But I put in, and their sales experience was they were a bartender at Applebee's. And they were selling the specials. And like the heavy. And I was like,
I feel like that kind of person could go either way. Like either way, they could either like really surprise you with that, or they're just going to be an absolute shit show of like, please get out of here, and you've embarrassed.
Well, like I know I'm not hiring that person. I want someone with 5 to 8 years experience who understands software in the clinical trial space. Like, maybe if I was like entry level sales role that I was hiring for, maybe I would entertain it. But I was just like, that's ballsy, man.
I mean, people got to eat, apply, give it a shot. You never know unless you try. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, et cetera, et cetera. Today, most importantly, is National Mac and Cheese Day. So,
I love mac and cheese. It's my favorite food for years and years as a child.
I mean, who doesn't like mac and cheese? If you don't like mac and cheese, you probably were born without a soul. That's what kind of.
I mean, I wouldn't disagree. So when you do mac and cheese, what do you like when you think I'm going to eat mac and cheese? What is that? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. It could be. I mean, look, it could be as simple as Kraft shells and cheese. Not even going to hate on that. That's what I grew up like eating, the most basic ass out of the box mac and cheese. And then you've got your crazy, like, throw some barbecue in there, and you got lobster mac and cheese. You got all kinds of shit. I'm an equal opportunity mac and cheese consumer. If you put mac and cheese on my plate, I'm going to eat it.
Yeah, I'm there, right there with you. As long as it's gluten-free mac and cheese, golden.
Okay. Today's another. I mean, not as important, but I guess it's also Bastille Day. Not a very big holiday.
No, not at all. And obviously, National Mac and Cheese Day is going to take the cake on that one.
More historically relevant, but Bastille
is it though?
Day, I guess. So, it's Bastille Day, and I think France is playing here in a couple hours in the World Cup, so that makes for a fun.
So like at 2 or something, is that right?
Yeah, 2 Central, yeah.
And they're playing Spain. It's France and Spain. Am I making that up?
Mm-hmm. No, I'm pretty sure that's correct.
I'm going to be really honest. I watched the U.S. games. Clearly got eliminated. And then I was watching, and I was really excited for Norway. And then, now they're out, and so I'm slightly less entertained. But
That's fair. I watch with only like a shred of interest. It's fun, but like I pretty much only just root for whoever's supposed to lose because I just want to see chaos. And
I feel like that's very on brand for you.
It is. And unfortunately in soccer, I feel like it's not common that the underdog wins. Maybe I'm wrong again. I have very recent history in watching soccer, but I almost feel like rarely do you see underdogs pull out a victory.
Yeah.
All because the whole thing is rigged by, space lizards from the government and FIFA. Anyways, that's a different podcast I do. Today, okay, let me see if there's any other days really quick before I move on. This is why people tune in. Probably
this is the hard-hitting facts.
It is. National Be Nice to Bugs Day. So, okay.
Nope. Don't celebrate that. No, I don't.
You don't let a spider. If the spider's in your house, you're not like, you know what, buddy? You go get those bugs. You go eat those flies. I'm gonna let you live. Or you.
I actually depends on the spider. I actually will be fine letting them exist. I was actually reading something that spiders learn your routines. And so they know when you're sleeping, and they're going to be more active when you're sleeping and try to stay out of your way when you are awake.
Okay. I don't believe that, but
I mean, it makes sense. You think about, they have a web, and they don't want to a predator. They want to be less active when their predators are around. And so they're going to...
No, spiders build webs exactly where I walk so that I get covered in spider webs. So I don't know if I believe that.
Well, I don't know. I've found the source of it. But outside of that, I don't like bugs. I am totally fine with snakes and worms, but anything that has more than 4 legs, there's just really something about the way they move that I really can't handle.
Yeah, I get it. I don't mind most spiders. I don't like the big orb weaver spiders, which also those are the ones I tend to freaking somehow walk into their webs, and they're the big spindly guys. I don't like those, but other than that, the spiders are meh.
Spiders are fine. I cannot with cockroaches. That's the type of bug I really just sends me. And
I mean, I think that's perfectly fair for a multitude of reasons.
No, I get it.
Let's see. It's Shark Awareness Day, so be aware of sharks, and it is National No Splinters Day, which I try to celebrate every day, frankly. So far so good.
That's a wild one to me. Someone was like, I don't have a splinter today. This is big enough for me to celebrate. Would they have splinters lots of days? I'm perplexed.
I don't know. I don't know where this came from.
This is making a note to file day more and more plausible.
That's true. There are a lot of completely ridiculous days. There's no reason it couldn't be a note to file day. I mean, I think we just need to declare it at some point.
It's like Michael Scott. Exactly. I declare bankruptcy.
Okay. Show's half over, so I guess maybe we'll talk about clinical research.
Fine.
Hey, listen, shout out Paul Donnelly. We got one LOL out of the comment section. And honestly, that's all I need to feel like the show is successful. So shout out Paul Donnelly. I came across this morning an article, use proper English. This is probably a little bit of a, marketing puff piece for the company High Tomorrows, who presumably, well, let's read it. A company that connects patients and physicians with clinical trial options. But they published a report based off of a survey of 100 US-based clinical trial site professionals. There's some interesting statistics in here, and I think
Does it talk
especially,
about what kind of sites, or is it just generic sites?
I can click down into the. So I'll post a link. I always say that, and then I pretty much always never do it. So whoopsie daisies, but maybe I'll try to put it on there. But there's a link to the actual report itself. I'm reading from a PR Newswire, type site here. So yeah, I mean, I would certainly recommend getting in there and maybe digging down, because it looks like they do break things down with a little bit more rigor. But nonetheless, I did find some of these statistics interesting, and I think I want to talk about this because I'm seeing more of this on my timeline or feed or whatever they're calling it on LinkedIn about patient recruitment, and especially in so much as sites are involved. Obviously, we've been to the big conferences. If you go I feel like if you go walk the conference hall or exhibitor hall, it is inordinately high number of patient recruitment services out there.
Technology and services, but yes.
Sure, fair. Which is interesting to me, and we'll get into that a little bit. But they kind of point out 4 structural pressures here that are creating a gap between what sites are being asked to deliver and the tools supporting them. First one being that referrals are failing at the source. 62% say the leading reason for pre-screen failure is that a patient simply doesn't meet key inclusion-exclusion criteria, meaning the problem starts upstream before a referral ever reaches the site. I mean, that feels, and again, I've been in this place before where I've complained about this, as somebody who's got leads from a central campaign. As we've sort of brought more of our recruitment and advertising in-house, I feel like I'm a little bit more sympathetic to it, I guess.
Okay. Tell me more.
I think one of the first lessons I learned is that people, well, I'm going to make one presumption here, and I didn't check the report, but most patient recruitment, at least advertising, is probably coming through social media, Facebook. That still seems to be the highest hitter in terms of what I see. Happy to be corrected. Now that we're omni-channel and things are coming from every angle. But one important lesson I learned early by trying to do some of this stuff myself is that anyone will click anything on the internet.
Yeah.
They're not reading it, half of it. They see some shit, they click it. Some of these ad lead forms, will pre-populate your information, and then you submit, and then pretty soon you've submitted for a trial. And when you reach back out to that person, half of them are like, what is this? I didn't do this. Stop. And that's just part of the game, I think.
I can confirm that's true, because that is absolutely how I ended up on several real estate lists. You're looking at houses, you click in, you inadvertently sign up for contact me. Those are not lists you want to be on, by the way.
Right. The next one is that triage is draining a valuable site resource. 27% of sites spend more than 20 hours a week reviewing incoming referrals, and nearly 7 in 10 say recruitment workload limits their ability to focus on patient care or study quality. So this is another bigger issue, I think, that, okay, obviously, Sorry, I still don't know how to use my computer properly, apparently. Patient care and study quality are two, sort of core competencies of clinical research sites. Well, another one should be patient recruitment, frankly. And part of that is dealing with incoming referrals. So I really think that that's sort of it's a bad stance for sites to take, because that should be one of the things that they do really well, frankly.
It's an interesting point, because I think you hear a lot about people about recruitment, how it's hard, but yeah, that's the core metric you get paid on, is getting patients in the trial. So you think that that's something like you're executing the trial, but yeah, recruitment's a core part of being a site, is it not?
The only way that you get to see patients is if you recruit them into a trial. They're not just going to walk in your door asking to be in a trial. It just isn't happening that way. So
why is there such a disconnect at sites then? Like, why is it like a recruitment's a problem? I shouldn't have to spend time doing it. It's taking away from XYZ. Then why is there such a pushback?
I don't know. And I'm honestly becoming more perplexed. And again, I will admit, like, I've been kind of in that boat in the past. And I think it's because, especially like when I worked at a university, and again, this is where, like, to your point earlier, it may matter like what sites are being surveyed in these things.
Who's participating in this?
Because if you work at, and so just as a little anecdote, but like I worked on a trial, and we worked with like there was a couple independent sites, but it was mostly academic sites. We were top enroller. We out enrolled everybody. So they're like, hey, this happens. So like, hey, Brad, do you want to come talk at the investigators meeting? We're doing a session about recruitment. You guys have done so well. Come share some of your, learning, some of your best practices. So, okay, great. I loved it. I was happy to do it. But as I stood up there and people would ask me questions, and I'd be like, well, here's what I do. Someone's like, well, some of our patients are too far away. This was also for a study with patients who had a lower leg amputation, so they can't drive. I was like, okay, cool. You know what I do? I call them an Uber. And they're like, oh, we can't do that. Like, what do you mean you can't do that? Well, we got to ask purchasing and go through so-and-so that's got to do this, that's then got to do this. And so it just becomes, we can't even do that. I'm like, oh, okay. Huh. Well, I guess you're screwed then. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're part of a big organization where
prohibitive.
Yeah. And you can't make that decision, that's going to be problematic. Paul, to your point, some sites are on it, others are lacking. Look, and this is I was on this is where it gets interesting too, and maybe I'll get to this. So let me come back to that. Let me hit these other really quickly. Sites are managing too many systems. 52% use 4 tools for pre-screening alone. 43% use 4 or more for referral intake. Something I would strongly suggest sites do, and we're now doing this. It's taking me too long to learn a lesson. That's sort of just my life story.
On brand.
Again, very on brand. I get there in my own fun roundabout way. I get there eventually.
Okay.
I think it's incumbent upon sites to like find your own system and not rely on a collection of systems from the study sponsors. And this is, again, I think we've talked about this, like what should sites sort of own and take some extra steps towards making their own, and which ones shouldn't they? I think this is one where sites should. Otherwise, it is a nightmare to have 4 systems. They're tracking patients differently. Processes are not the same. Outreach is going into different places. You need to centralize that internally.
Yeah. And I'm a huge proponent for site-owned technology. Like site-centered technology is not also just about like site-owned technology. It's about technology that works for the site and their operations. And like across the board, I would argue that most technology should be site-owned, managed, and centric, outside of a caveat of a couple that
Sure.
make more sense.
Yeah.
But I get it. I get why sponsors want to provide those solutions because they're like, I want to help.
Great idea. Yeah, it sounds like a great idea, and it's in theory, it's not a bad idea. And there are sites out there, smaller sites that I mean, I've done extremely well off of central campaigns too. So there's another side of that where it's been extremely valuable to me in a time where I couldn't afford, to run something like that.
Right.
But the one thing I did do that was different than the other sites was that I was available to take that call anytime.
Yeah.
And a lot of sites don't have or won't make a priority in doing that. And again, we've talked about some of this and we can talk more about it. Like, your run of the mill coordinator may not be the best person to do that. You might need somebody with a little bit more sales mindset, which I know can be have a bad connotation in what we do.
Salespeople suck.
Well, so they do. Yeah, they do. 100%. There's no arguing that. But at the end of the day, I think sites have to embrace that what we do is essentially it's a fucking sales process. It is. And I know we don't like to
selling a patient.
We don't like to connect those two things because it feels, unethical or whatever the case. You don't have to be hard selling people, but the process of literally picking up the phone in a very timely manner, making however many, outreach attempts and points of contact. We've all seen the dumb, it takes 7 points of contact, whatever the case is, to actually, get a hold of somebody and get them interested in what you're trying to provide. I mean, we have to do that. We got to do it. And I think we have to consider it just a part of the game that is being a research site.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a woman who was on my team who coined the term friend knowing, where like you're just persistently friendly and constant until they tell you to like show up. Because it's not like you send one outreach and they're like, yes, I want to buy this thing, or yes, I'm ready to go. Like it is just like there's a balance, right? Like we've all had those really obnoxious salespeople who won't leave you alone, but you can't just say one and done and call it. It's not going to work. But it comes back to the question, like the first thing you touched on was that like, shouldn't patient recruitment, and this as part of that, be considered a core competency of sites? And why is it not treated that way? Because all of the sort of downstream things are, or even to, Paul's point, some sites are just lacking. It's a general mailbox. Like it's not treated like a core competency or a core piece of it when it's fundamentally a massive chunk of what sites should be doing.
Yeah. And especially if a sponsor is handing you leads, that ROI is essentially infinity, right? I mean, you're not investing anything except for maybe a human being who can pick up the phone or take a warm handoff when that time comes. So it's also just bad business, like what are you doing?
I mean, do you think it ties back into the fact though that like for whatever reason in the site space, sales, and I mean, I joke, obviously I run a fucking sales team. So like, that's what I do from 9 to 5. Right. And like, I get it. Like there's a connotation in being in sales that's icky, right? Like you don't want that like used car salesman, like get you in on the ground floor vibe. So, I mean, I guess I can see why folks are somewhat resistant, but you can't be if you're going to be successful.
To be clear, there was a time, 10 years ago when I was doing, I was a coordinator and I was taking in central leads and they were bad. They were real bad. And it can be frustrating if you make 15 calls in a row and none of them even have the diagnosis that like you're looking for. And then, pretty soon, everybody can be, you lose interest and, it's easier to ignore it than it is to, keep making those terrible calls. A couple other interesting points here is that 67% say AI could help detect matches. 65% believe it could reduce administrative workload. I feel like that's a little bit hopeful. I've played around with it. We're still playing around with it. There are some good uses, 100%. You know, caveats there, and we've talked about some of those. Interesting. This is what is interesting to me, and this is where I start to also get really annoyed. 76% say personalized patient navigation would deliver high or very high value. And 70% believe it could increase the share of referrals who meet basic eligibility criteria before ever reaching the site. So let me take the first part.
Okay.
Personalized patient navigation. What do you think that would consist of?
My brain went right to like insurance companies where you have care navigators for complex patients who help you like navigate what treatments and appointments and that type of thing. But I have no idea what do you mean care navigation? Like, is that?
I mean, that's essentially, it's almost like you're coordinating clinical trial for the patient. I mean, this is what sites should be. You are navigating, helping a patient navigate, and it's personal because everyone is different. But I mean, what I want to do is I have a patients call me. I've got 25 trials open. Okay. You came out an advertisement for a cardiology trial. You know what? You're not going to fit. Your blood pressure is not quite high enough. But they tell me, I also have migraines. Oh, I have 3 migraine trials open. Let me help you. Would you be interested in this? That can't be done at a central level.
Yeah.
They're not going to know who
it's
has
just for the trial.
What. Correct. So this is where I think, again, sites need to make that investment. And, I don't think it's as like overwhelming or challenging, especially nowadays where we've got tools. If you want to make an ad, you can make an ad. It's not that hard. And like I said before, I've created some ads that are not very good, but you know what? People click. People click them, and then you're on the phone with somebody, and now you're getting somewhere. Because otherwise, and we've seen this. I've been having this conversation. You can continue to enroll out of the clinics that you work, which a lot of people do. I think it's, if you're limiting yourself to that, you're leaving a lot on the table versus a whole, hundreds of people who might be raising their hands to say, I want to be in a clinical trial.
Which is interesting, though, because I think when you think about like the major research hubs, academics, hospitals, universities, they are pretty much like they all have community engagement initiatives. But I would say by and large, they're banking on just being able to accrue patients from their populations that come into their medical centers.
Sure.
They're not like, it's like, I'm here, I'm successful because I have a large enough patient population. I'm going to assume that I'm going to meet it. I think but I don't think most of them are doing the outbound stuff really.
Well, and in truth, that can work, and it does work, obviously. Otherwise, we wouldn't have that model. I think and again, I've made the analogy before, but it's like running up to somebody on the street, and it's like, hey, I see that you wear t-shirts. You want to buy this t-shirt? And they're like, well, no, I just what? Why? What makes you think that I want this? Why are you talking to me? Versus somebody who's coming to you and saying, I want to buy a t-shirt. Say, cool, I have these 5 different t-shirts. Let's see if any of them fit you. You know what I mean? I feel like the second way makes a little bit more sense to at least, to start. Otherwise, I think what you sometimes end up with are people who are getting talked into something that they weren't ever looking for, which is then where your data quality starts to suffer, your compliance suffers. I've seen it happen a lot. Well, my doctor wanted me to do this, but 3 weeks in, I'm realizing like this sucks. I don't want to do it. Versus the people who are again motivated people who want to participate in a trial, but you're not going to get those unless you are. And again, you don't need to get complicated. But if one person who's good on the phone, you can run a Facebook ad for. You don't just the cost of running an ad. You can build it in Canva, whatever you need to do. It can be relatively cheap, and it can be that easy.
Have you done any and maybe something to think about now, I guess, but any type of metrics or reporting on just personal case study stuff of patient source and retention and like
I haven't gotten that deep quite yet. I'm collecting all that information now so that we can start kicking out some reports. And I think it definitely, I'll say that in general, again, this is all anecdotal, but I do think, motivated patients from advertising tend to be a little bit more compliant. If the doctor is enrolling from literally their patient, those tend to be pretty compliant. Once you start getting into the referral or like the rest of the practice, it can get a little bit hairier. I'll be curious to see though. Again, that's completely anecdotal, so don't, put that anywhere. But I've sat, and even at the first SOS conference, there were people standing up on stage and being like almost deriding the idea of running advertising campaigns. Like it was a bad thing to do, which I was sort of confused by, so I still think there's a sentiment that like that's somehow
marketing and sales is bad.
Yeah. And hey, it is bad. Okay. Don't get me wrong. But no, yes, I think that sentiment still very much exists at a lot of the site levels.
But it's interesting. I mean, you mentioned, and I think it can't happen at a central campaign level because that's a per protocol level basis, and it's literally very focused for this trial. We're not looking at holistically what's the best opportunity for the patient. We're not looking at all the opportunities available to them. It is very much, I want you on this trial, and that's like the singular lens. So not only is it not like forward thinking, it's also very minimal as far as like what access it's providing to patients and opportunities it's providing to the patients. But it's that concept of like having a more like long-term vision, because to your point, someone comes in from a cardiology perspective, but maybe they can get on a migraine study, or maybe they end up in your patient registry because you don't have anything for them now, but maybe in the future they become someone of interest or someone you can continue to outreach for. And it's really just like more the holistic long-term approach to how are we engaging with these people who might be interested in research, not how do I get this person on this trial.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't disagree. Shout out Dan. This is from the report. Personalized patient navigation. Multilingual navigators across global time zones help patients arrive informed, qualified, and prepared, lowering screen failures, drop-offs, and easing the burden on site staff. So I will generally agree with this statement in instances where I've seen this be the case. A very successful study I worked on, they did pre-screening and sort of like some educational piece, and they were only in like North Carolina, but I can't tell you how many people would get confused because people from Oklahoma are calling us, oh, where are you at? And that person has to be like, well, I'm in North Carolina, but your site is in Oklahoma City. And again, it's a small thing, but like still I'd have patients be like, oh, wow, I'm calling people in North Carolina. So getting into global time zones. Now, the one upside obviously is that like I'm not making my recruiters take a phone call at 9:00 in the evening just because somebody's availability is that, unfortunately. So that we probably do lose some that way. But I mean, them's the breaks. And also, if you can't take a call except for at 9:00, like, are you going to be a good compliant patient who can come in during business hours and be a part of the study anyway? Right. I mean, that's another question. And that's where I could see some AI, potentially, if you could do some pre-screening via AI. But again, I've already seen, as soon as patients realize what's happening, they're like, I ain't talking to AI. I won't talk to you. And again, that sentiment could change as it becomes more normalized. But right now, I feel like that's just, again, completely anecdotal in my own personal experience. But I've already seen that play out a little bit.
I mean, I'd say I've seen that played out too when I was at Haystack. Like, we originally started off as a software company. We're going to do patient recruitment. You realize that's half of what you need to do as a recruitment company, because you can find the patients, but you're not actually providing much help unless you're supporting in some other way, or unless it's a site like yours, which has, you mentioned, my recruiters. Mm-hmm. The percentage of sites that have that is not particularly high. It's coordinators doing it.
Yes, you're probably right. And look, I've done it both ways, but I think, again, I'm not that big of a site. So I don't think it's a crazy thing that if you will get an ROI if you can commit someone, or I don't know, take your coordinators, say that like, you know what, Tuesdays and Thursdays, you have to deal with it. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you have to do whatever you need to do to commit some specific dedicated time to that. Because I get it. If you're a coordinator, your PI is yelling at you. You got 3 CRAs asking you for this, that, or the other. You got patients calling you that are already on your studies who are having trouble with this. You got to go reconcile a IP log that got messed up. You got temp logs to keep up with. Like, there's a lot that you would rather do than make calls to patients. I hated doing it when I started.
Argue it's a massively different skill set.
100%, yeah.
Like, someone who's going to implement software is not going to be the person who sells the software or who develops the software. Like, you're hiring either skill sets or interests. Like, what do you want to do for your job, right? So, like, I mean, I think if you're big enough to swing it, I think it makes sense to do more dedicated recruitment stuff. But I think it all comes back to that sort of sentiment where a lot of sites don't want to sell. They don't want to be seen as salesy, or they don't want to invest in that type of workflow.
You are doing sales. I'm sorry. And it took me a long time to come to terms with that as somebody who, you know, has not always been particularly high on salespeople, but you know, I have a little more appreciation in general. But I'm saying, like, you just gotta, I think you gotta lean into that. That's just what it is. And you know what? The upside of that is once you accept it, you can understand that there are already a lot of resources, a lot of processes, a lot of software out there that doesn't have to be fancy clinical trial specific that you can use, because sales is a well studied and well, you know, generally well executed process that has existed for a long time. Well, so and I think there's some comfort in that, I think, if you lean into it.
Well, and I also think too, like, sales, as much as I give rip on it because I can, but like, as much as I make fun of sales for being ick, it isn't, right? Like, and I think my first exposure was like when I worked at REI. You're selling, you're in retail sales, but you can
you
do
probably
that.
Also smell bad because you're a dirty hippie, probably.
I'm named after a mountain, so it all works.
Fair.
But like, you can sell without it being icky, and then like this whole, like, I mean, all of the different philosophies of like the challenger methodology and different things, but like being a consultative salesperson is not a problem. And so like, someone comes in, they're trying to solve a problem, the solution might be a sale, and that's okay. It's not like sales doesn't have to be that like used car salesman vibes. And so like, people need to lean into the fact that like, you're just solving someone's problem. The solution is going to be a transaction in the end if it's successful. But like, it does get icky when it gets like convoluted and it becomes, you know, make the sale at all costs. Doesn't worry about the customer.
We've seen examples of that. People being, you know, enrolled into trials that should not be, of data being, you know, falsified and things like that. So yes, but I mean, the point I'm making though is like, once you kind of lean into the idea, to your point, you realize like there's already like proofs out there about how this can work, and you can use those to your advantage.
And you can do it ethically, and you can do it in a way that's actually helpful.
Or right? The way that meets the way that fits your site culture. And at the end of the day, to your point, like we're not selling them used cars. We're selling them, you know, hopefully, you know, something more hopeful and something generally good for both them and for, you know, humanity or whatever's left of it. Okay. Anyways, that's my rant. And overall, I guess something again I keep seeing are a lot of posts about centralized recruitment vendors. And the more I'm like, you know what, man, I just don't. Yeah, they're helpful. We should have some. I agree. I understand that. Do there need to be like, there's need to be a third of the exhibition hall? No, it doesn't. Sites need to get really good at recruitment, and they should be good at recruitment. And I think with a small change of like the way some sites think about things, that it would make a dramatic difference in how well clinical trials do. I mean, a lot of those, whatever, 80% of delayed trials, I think we could cut that number down if sites owned it.
Do you think this is something that should be better funded in budgets then?
Probably yes.
Because that seems to me like a better solution. Where instead of spending money on centralized vendors, you pay for the site to do the work.
Yes. I mean, again, I think that would be, well, and again, every time I bring this up and people are quick to point out, and they're not wrong, but look at the distribution of sites and their enrollment, and a lot of them are real bad at it. But I think this is where it's incumbent, if you're going to run a central campaign, you're not spending the same amount on every site. At least you shouldn't be. If you are, you're probably an idiot, because you're going to find out real quick that like they're okay. Well, now we see. So what should you do? I think you double down on the sites that have the infrastructure and are doing it, and you stop with the sites who are not. But I don't know that that's the case. That's what we see in a lot of these cases. But look, if I'm enrolling patients and I'm taking the calls and these 3 sites over here aren't, give me their spend. I will pick up the phone and get their patients in.
Yeah.
Not their patients, but the money that was allocated, to them, give it to the sites that are successful.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, that's my rant. We went way over today.
I mean, patient recruitment's the fascinating space, because to your point, there's like the third of exhibit halls are people trying to solve this problem, right? Like, so I think there's, and we're far from solving it. So I think it's a fascinating space.
That's true, and I'm sure there'll be more. And so now that AI is more ubiquitous, we'll see that get slapped in, and that's fine. I'm sure there will be places where it helps tremendously. There will be places where it drops the ball, and we'll figure out, hopefully take the good and leave the bad, but we haven't been real good at that yet. So we'll see.
No.
All right. What do we got coming up on Thursday?
We have Anthony Corso joining us on Thursday. So VP
I'll be
of Public
outnumbered
Policy.
by Vivans.
The Vivans wear orange. But he's a VP of Public Policy, so does a lot of work with legislation, kind of lobbyist, but not paid. Like we don't. So it's part of our public benefit corporation mission.
Yeah, not paid. Definitely not. Definitely not greasing any palms, surely.
So yeah, he'll be talking probably about Operation Trailblazer, some of the different clinical trials modernization acts, data standards, sort of a lot of the work. It's interesting, like less directly applicable to Viva stuff, but really how do we work within the government to make clinical trials better for sites, and what are things that we could be doing in this space. So it'll be an interesting conversation, I'm sure.
Should be fun. Cool. Then we will catch you guys Thursday, July 16th.
Yep. Same time, same place.
All right. Later, guys.
Catch you later.
Thanks for listening to Note to File. We're committed to continuing to bring you independent and unfiltered coverage of the clinical trial industry.
We want to talk about what you want to hear. So if you have something on your mind, hit us up at notetofilepodcast.com.